clay, right? Because to soften it up a little bit, or if you're trying to connect things, you do need water. And today you'll notice I have a laptop in front of me, so I will be able to monitor your comments. So that will be really, really exciting. I am very, very happy that we'll be able to do that here. All right, so what are you guys planning on making?
No, Mimi,
all of my nieces and nephews' Christmas gifts, because the top of this is $6.
Honestly, Mimi, I have no idea what I'm going to make. You know, it kind of feels like therapy for me. I'm kind of just like rolling around, putting my fingers in it.
I think I'm going to do a smash and try to make some sort of tray.
Yeah, I'm going to make a little tray for my desk.
Very distressing.
Is there,
it's
have you...
kind of like a stress ball in a way.
Can you Google, like, how to make stuff with this? Like, have you found any good tutorials or anything?
Well, basically, you just kind of do whatever you want. You want to make sure that the layers are pretty even, right? If you're going to be making, like, a little bowl like I'm trying to right now. I'm not very good at working with
I'm going
clay.
for the bowl, too, so we'll see whose bowl comes out better at the end of this.
Yeah, you know, mine will probably live on my desk regardless. And then, you know what? Since these do take a couple days to dry, you'll be able to use the paint in my desk for decorations.
Mine probably won't even make it to production.
I don't think so.
I already went for a couple shapes and off camera, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not sticking the landing this morning.
No, it feels like I'm working the graveyard shift at Papa John's, like kind of pumping out as many pizzas as I can before I clock out.
Mimi, can we reverse interview you?
Oh God, yeah, sure, if you want to.
How's the new gig? I mean, you've been the morning anchor how long now?
Since the beginning of April.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Like
Did you have me on here like right when you begun? I think we talked about your sleep.
Actually, no. When I started this before I even started doing the morning anchor stuff. This was just, I like doing DIY projects.
Oh, okay.
I was just too scared to ask you guys because I was scared of what you would subject me to.
Oh.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, today isn't too bad, right?
Yeah, no. You guys are doing great so far. You know, I was a little scared. Then I had Bryan on before you, right? Made him do Taylor Swift collages.
Hey, that was great.
I thought that's what we were making today.
That came out.
When I signed up, I was thinking collage.
You know, I was thinking about doing that to you guys, but I thought, you know, for our viewers, they don't want to see us make collages again. They'd rather see us do something new and interesting here.
Right.
I'm trying to
like making a really subpar bowl.
Yeah,
exactly. That I don't know what's gonna get. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna start trying to shape mine. You need quite a bit of clay, I feel like, to make a bowl.
Really
I'm not doing like a whole lot of a good job right now. It's a little uneven, and my hands are getting gross and dirty, so I'm not really able to.
So wait, but how is morning anchoring going for you?
Oh, it is so fun. I love it. The morning show is great. I have a blast every single day. It's like a dream come true, honestly.
Yeah, you have morning anchor energy. You're a bright,
really
happy person. Bryan and I could never do this.
No,
we're just too sad all the time.
You know, we're just broken.
We're broken. we're just broken.
We can't do the morning dicks.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, guys?
So we can only do serious news.
I mean, come on. Like, I think a lot of viewers might have questions right now. Why I have a baseball in front of us?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that, but I was letting us warm up.
Yeah, so this is a representation of me playing T-ball until I was 14 years old. So it's kind of like that guy from the Benchwarmers movie. You know, he'd show up to every game. He'd have to provide proper documentation of why he was playing T-ball till that age. And so he'd just rip out a folded paper, and then the umpire, he'd unfold it, and he'd see that written, purple crayon that says "I'm 12" on it with a picture of me on it, and slide him a couple 20s, but
right.
Good play.
So, how that connects to the baseball? How?
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost on the. This is a little bit of an A to Z production.
No, I remember like the baseballs we used actually had a Cubs logo on it.
Oh, cute.
The owner of that little league, he was a big Cubs fan, so yeah, that's why I have it here today.
That's fun. So, Cubs fan, right? But you're not from Chicago?
I'm not from Chicago.
That is such an interesting thing to me because I am from Chicago.
It's crazy.
I am a Cubs fan.
Yeah. There's quite a few. Is it Chicagoans?
Chicagoans. Whatever.
There's
there's a bunch of us.
You, Umberto.
Rachel.
Yeah.
A lot of Chicagoans. A lot of LA
That's
people
quite a
here
bit.
too, man.
Just one, just me. I guess Adrian.
It's like you, Adrian, and Alicia, man. Come on.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
true.
Yeah, dude.
And Alicia.
Not LA, a lot of Chicago. Only one Miami, unfortunately.
Couple Cincinnati people.
Got a couple Cincy's, yeah.
Okay.
Noah, the new sports guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Cincinnati.
Jack Cottle.
Jack Cottle originally, like, if you go way back in history in the books, because he's been here for quite a while. I mean.
Way back in history. Oh, Jack Cottle would say.
All right, you know, we really. I just want to
say.
say. Well, I mean, you know, the history of Jack Cottle, of course.
Right, obviously, that's important to us here.
I just want to throw this out there that we got way off topic from my original question, which is, Mimi, how has the morning anchoring been going? I feel like we kind of just.
That was a fun game.
Well, that's the whole point of this show, right? We're getting silly, we're having fun.
Really cool.
I said it is really fun. I'm having a blast. I mean, the schedule sucks, obviously, and I don't get to spend as much time with my favorite people on the earth, you guys, our resident office bromance.
Of course, of course.
I'll believe.
Quick question for you. What is your eating schedule? Because your sleeping schedule, your day schedule's got to be weird. So, like, what time's breakfast? What time's lunch? What time's dinner?
Actually, I feel like I don't eat on that weird of a schedule because I don't typically get hungry in here until after Good Morning Black Hills, so around 8. Then I'll have oatmeal or whatever here, and then I eat lunch at like 11 when I go home, and then dinner at like.
So only like 2 hours between the oatmeal and lunch.
Yeah, well,
That's
it's one
good.
packet of oatmeal. It really
Oatmeal
can't.
doesn't stick the landing.
Doesn't.
My dad and I were just talking about this. I just had oatmeal this morning. I'll be hungry like in 20 minutes.
Same here, too. I eat oatmeal
It's a good
every
thing we have a
single
vending
morning
machine,
now.
right?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys are our resident office bromance, I wanted to see how your
Romance.
We are. I mean, I'll take
how
it.
did your friendship start?
I remember when Bryan trained me, I didn't know what to think of the guy.
I think I had a similar experience.
This guy's an awful, you know?
Yeah.
That's probably what he was thinking.
Yeah.
This guy's going to sabotage my...
See his glasses? Those are Versace glasses. And I think one of the first, when I really knew I respected Bryan, is one day I go, hey, man, those glasses you wear are really cool. Where are they? And he goes, I don't know. And he pulls them off, like actually didn't know what he was wearing. And he goes, they're Versace. Which is obviously like a major nice fashion label. And I just thought it was so funny that he had no idea what he had on, even though he had Versace glasses.
That is so bougie.
To be
of
fair,
you.
that was probably like the second day I actually ever had these glasses. So
I know when you first
still trying to
pulled up
figure
with
out
them.
all the words. So
When
That
Bryan
day is
first
when the
pulled up-
bromance, in my opinion, kindled for me. I was
Really?
like, I
That's
respect
crazy.
this guy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
For me, I think it was like when you came with me on that live, man.
You did a live hit together? Where was the live?
President's stat. Oh, we done a couple. He was my photo.
Are you talking about the day it was like -5 degrees outside? He's out setting up the camera. I'm like, I'll be right out there to help. I'm like, brand new. It's like -5. I'm not going outside that Starbucks. He sets the whole thing up on his own.
Yeah, I
That's
remember.
so funny.
Go out there. It's like really windy out. It was with Black Hills area. Who was it? One of these community foundations. Oh, Black Hills Area Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
I remember doing a live there. It was for one of the presidents.
Yeah, they were commemorating Jimmy Carter. It was really a cool story. Yeah. It was very cold out that day, though. I remember it was so cold. It was. Yeah, I think it was like -5 degrees or something. I had just gotten
Oh
here.
my gosh, yeah.
rough,
That is a crazy transition to go from like LA and
Yeah.
California, and then all of a sudden it's -5 and you're trying to do a live out here in Kota.
I kind of eased into the jacuzzi. So when I moved here, it was actually too snowy for me to go through like Salt Lake City and then hook over Wyoming. So what I ended up doing was drove to Santa Fe, New Mexico, spent the night there, and then drove from Santa Fe up to the Black Hills.
Okay, that's
Actually, you know what? I didn't even make it, though. I had to sleep in Chadron because it was snowing so hard.
Oh, really?
I got snowed into a Holiday Inn in Chadron.
Crazy.
No.
It was like the 7th inning, 8th inning of the game. It was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know you're so close.
Yeah, I had
It's
to
so
pay for a
far.
hotel room like
God.
2 hours out.
Honestly, like New Mexico is great. It just has that charm, and Santa Fe is awesome. Really like Albuquerque. It's like New Mexico is kind of like an ugly Arizona in a way, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude,
Sure.
New Mexico. It's like Arizona's. New Mexico's just more like quiet and laid back.
Yeah.
than Arizona, I think.
It is I think it's a really beautiful state,
Really
New
is.
Mexico, like the northern area. I'd never been there, so that was my first time going. I'd always wanted to go to Santa Fe. It always just seemed like such a cool place. Have you been there, Mimi?
I have not. I actually haven't been to New Mexico at all, so
Oh, okay.
can't participate in the conversation.
okay. It's all good. I mean, honestly, it took me till I was 31 years old to go to New Mexico. And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, if I hadn't gotten laid off my last job and had to move for another job, I can't say I'd seen the joint, you know?
Sure.
What do you guys think is like the most fun thing about working with your friends?
I think it makes it easier.
Makes it
like,
easier.
to get through the day.
Yeah.
'Cause you're kind of just like I I don't want to say like, really goofing off or anything. I mean, I feel like sometimes you have to. This job can be pretty
We never goof off in here.
stressful.
No.
So,
Never, ever.
yeah,
Just for context,
all
they're being
business.
extremely sarcastic. I've walked into the newsroom and seen them throwing a little mini football around.
I actually thought he brought the baseball to throw.
I did think
thought we were
going to
demonstrate
happen.
off
if
this
you want to
throw.
do like a long toss, demonstrate for our viewers their baseball backgrounds, I'm more than willing to do that. Yeah, man. I know Vic Quick, he's going to be mad at me. I think this is his baseball. So.
Yeah, at least you're handling it with really clean hands.
Really, I know. That's what I'm saying. He's going to be really upset. He sees a bunch of clay markings
Oh
on it.
my
All right, so
God.
since we're talking travel here, what's the
Yeah.
best place you? Because I know Mimi, you took a recent
There we
trip.
go.
Yes, it was great. I loved
Oh,
being
yeah.
on vacation. It was amazing. But yeah, what are the coolest places you guys have been first? Because this is my
Coolest
show and I'm
places I've
telling
been
you.
to.
Wait, well, let's go back to your vacation. Mimi took a really awesome trip recently. Let's
yeah.
talk about that.
I
think
was-
this last vacation you took probably outdid any vacation I've ever been on.
Yeah, so I was in the British Virgin Islands, and
Nice.
for my entire family, basically, we chartered a boat down there, and we lived on it for like 7 days, which was really fun. And we sailed from island to island, which is awesome. I have a sailing background, so does my whole family. So it's not like a scary thing for people who might think that's really intimidating. I promise it's not. It's very chill, laid back, relaxing, fun.
My family played a game of Ultimate Frisbee one time.
Purr. Purr, that's it?
Yeah, that's how I counter that. I'm like, we've never done anything like that. That's cool, though. You sail?
That was really cool.
Yeah.
So you must have been sailing on Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah, my whole life. I grew up going to sailing camp at Northwestern University, and then eventually I started to teach lessons there. And then I need another paper towel because that one just disintegrated under my hands.
That's like, wait, Lake Michigan, though, that's like triple black diamond sailing, right? Because Chicago's the windy city. I would imagine that
Yep.
the conditions out there are pretty, I guess the swell's probably not so bad like the ocean.
The swell actually can get pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
When it's raging northeast and like pounding the city with wind, basically, some of those waves can get 10 plus feet easily. But I wouldn't say the conditions were particularly intimidating. Growing up in that area, like there's nice days where, there's not a whole lot of wind, and then there's days where there's crazy wind and everything in between. Kind of like here, sometimes
Right.
there's a ton of wind here and sometimes there is not. So
Yeah, no,
it's
I
definitely
totally feel that.
an interesting thing. What is something cool that you guys did growing up? Like, what was your favorite thing to do?
I almost grew up
Favorite thing to
sailing. In a way, no, really, my grandpa had a sailboat, but everybody liked to fish. So we all kind of like binded together and convinced him to sell the sailboat.
And get
And
fishing?
yeah, I ended up buying like a fishing boat, and then I grew up fishing a lot. So always kind of grew up on the water too, but definitely not sailing.
Not the same way. Yeah.
No, just fishing.
That is the one thing that I would say I miss the most about the Great Lakes area is the Great Lakes, obviously. But yeah, what about you, Bryan?
So, yeah, believe it or not, big old theater dude.
Sure.
Growing up, used to go to this playhouse over DC area. Go there and kind of volunteer and start acting my heart out. So yeah, anyone wonder, that's the whole reason why I did that Dino Bone story the other day. I'm trying to submit an audition tape to a casting director for the next wrestling movie.
That was a great story, by the way.
That was
Appreciate it,
really, really good. Yeah, I did like that. I've already asked you guys this both, but maybe it's changed since the last time you were on my show. But
Yeah.
what has been your favorite story to make so far?
Oh man.
Good question.
Like in terms of production,
there's
or people you've
honestly-
met, or
Right.
It's really hard to pick one because like there's just so many that I've done. And it's like
I do a lot of serious news, so it's like kind of a hard thing to like quantify as like a favorite. But I remember one day I was having kind of a slow news day.
Yeah.
So I went down to is it Dakota Meat Company? I want to make sure I'm getting no Dakota Meat Company.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think it's in downtown. It's right in that.
Are you talking about South Dakota
Can we Google this? I want to say it's called Dakota Meat Company.
Stock Road Association?
No, I believe it's called Dakota Meat Company, but I want to make sure I get it absolutely correct.
Gotcha.
Really cool business there. I want to give
This one?
Eric another shout out. Yeah, Dakota Meat Company. Okay. So I met with the owner, Eric, and just his passion for bringing actually South Dakota grown beef to his restaurant.
Yeah.
I thought was so cool just to see that passion. So
Yeah, that is really cool.
yeah, for me that was like very. I don't know. It was just really cool. Like when he was telling his story about how he got started, and like he drives his personal car to the other side of the state to pick up certain types of beef and bring them back to his restaurant. I just thought that was so cool. And when you see somebody doing something passionate or that they're passionate about and they bring that passion with them, yeah, it's really cool.
It is really inspiring.
I think for me, it's like, I would say, I remember one day, just like Blake, I was in the same position, didn't have any stories lined up. It's kind of like one of those days that I've experienced quite a lot here, especially in the beginning when I started here. You know, just stressing out in the morning. It's like 11 o'clock. It's like, oh shit, I still don't have anything. And all of a sudden, our former news director, Jen, she gives me, she comes over to me. She's like, oh, hey, there's this fire going on over, you know, center of the state. And Philip, I was like, all right, I'll just go run over there, see what I can get. And I remember getting there, and I was just like, okay, where's this fire? Like, I don't see anything. And then once I get closer and closer, I get over this hill, and all of a sudden I just see this big smoke plume.
Oh my God.
Coming out of this structure, this building. And I get there, and I just see everybody in the town. Like, it's a small town. Everybody's there, like, in their lawn chairs all lined up, and they're just, like, watching it like it's the 4th of July. I'm
that
like,
is
wow.
so Midwestern.
That's crazy, yeah.
I love that.
Like, I've never seen anything like it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Have you never gone outside during a tornado just to watch?
No, I've never done it yet.
Clearly, you're not from the Midwest.
No, I'm not.
Tornadoes terrify me. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know, so from California, everybody thinks earthquakes are really scary, and I guess there's a fair point to be made there. That,
yeah, they
like,
are
any of these natural disasters are scary, but tornadoes to me are like, that might be the scariest one.
Oh, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
Tornadoes are really scary, but at home in Chicago, when there was a tornado warning, you know, obviously it didn't really ever reach the city, so it wasn't like hugely dangerous in our minds.
Sure.
We would take lawn chairs out on in our garage, open it up, and just watch.
No kidding.
And, and how many did you see?
Not actual like real spiraling hit the ground tornadoes.
Oh, okay.
That's like go to the basement, like no one.
Right. That's what I was thinking that you were looking out in the distance.
Just
and
like,
seeing
you know,
a
the tornado warning, the high winds, watching the thunderstorm happen,
that.
I think is pretty relaxing and fun. But anyway, I think that's all the time we have for today. Let's show our finished products.
Let's do it.
So I've got my little dish here. This is what I'm working with. I added a little rim on the bottom so it can like kind of sit nicely. Now, air dry clay typically takes about 48-ish hours to dry, depending on how thick it is. Bryan's will definitely take longer.
Yeah, it's gonna take really long. It's like, I was trying to make like a giant onion ring, kind of.
Okay.
That looks like one of those donuts. You know those donuts that have that nice texture?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Hey,
very
man,
descriptive. Those donuts that have that nice.
That's exactly what I was going for, Blake. Thanks. What we got there, sir?
Mine is a worse looking bowl than Mimi's. This is what we call a terrible bowl.
Looks like one of those like mini like pizzas.
You're not,
like,
but that's a cute dish. You could have that on your desk. Put little trinkets in there.
Yeah, I'll be there. I have a lot of trinkets that are.
A lot of trinkets.
I have a ton of trinkets, and I've
what
never
are your
understood.
trinkets?
Yeah.
Just too many to name.
You know what it reminds me of? Like
Okay.
one of those,
Tons of
one of
trinkets.
those like pizza bagels, man. You ever had that?
yeah. This
Those
definitely
were so good.
That does look like
That was like
pizza bagel.
a favorite childhood treat for me.
In fairness, I had my hands ready to make a collage.
Oh, right.
I had my collage hands
Wasn't
on.
ready.
I'm glad that I caught you guys off
Ready
guard.
for the
This was
clay.
fun. So thank you so much for joining me
Look at
here
that.
at DIY Friday Delights. We will
Yeah.
see you right back here next week for more DIY fun.